You wake up, you go through your day, you answer messages, finish tasks, make small plans. But somewhere in the back of your mind, there's a quiet thought. This isn't the real version of my life yet. It feels temporary, like you're waiting for something to start. The real career, the real confidence, the real version of you. And until that moment arrives, this version of life feels like a draft. But here's the strange part. Some people live with this feeling for years, even decades. So the question becomes, why does your brain treat the present moment like it's just a placeholder? When life feels like a draft, you start postponing things. You delay big decisions. You hesitate before committing. You keep telling yourself, I'll figure things out later. Later becomes the future version of you, the version that will finally know what they're doing. So you wait. You wait until you feel more ready, more confident, more certain about who you are. But strangely, that feeling rarely comes, because the brain begins to treat the present as a rehearsal. Your job becomes temporary. Your relationships feel transitional. Even your identity feels unfinished. You might say things like, I'm still figuring things out. I'm not really there yet. And while that sounds reasonable, it slowly changes how you behave. You start playing life safely. You observe more than you participate, almost like you're standing on the edge of your own life, watching it unfold. This pattern actually has a name in psychology. It's related to something called identity postponement, a mental habit where the brain delays committing to a stable version of the self. But here's the important part. This isn't a flaw in your character. It's an adaptation. Your brain didn't randomly decide to treat life like a draft. It learned to do this for a reason. In behavioral psychology, the brain constantly tries to minimize emotional risk. Commitment creates risk. Choosing a career means giving up other possibilities. Choosing a path means closing others. And your brain doesn't like closing doors. So instead, it keeps them open. Remaining in a draft phase protects you. If nothing is final, nothing can fully fail. If your identity isn't locked in, you can always reinvent yourself later. From the brain's perspective, this feels safe. But safety has a side effect. It creates a permanent waiting room. To understand this better, imagine your brain as a story editor. Every day, your mind updates the story of who you are. Psychologists call this your narrative identity. But when the brain fears committing to a story, it keeps marking everything as temporary, like writing a document where every sentence is labeled draft. When this happens, three psychological systems interact. First, uncertainty avoidance. The brain prefers predictable identities, but modern life gives endless choices. So instead of choosing wrong, the brain delays choosing at all. Second, loss aversion. Neuroscience shows that losing possibilities hurts more than gaining new ones feels good. So committing to one life path can feel like losing many others. Third, identity protection. If your life is still a draft, your potential remains untouched. And potential feels safer than reality, because reality can be judged, but potential cannot. Over time, these mechanisms create a strange psychological space. You are living your life, but mentally preparing for a future version of it. And that's why the present feels strangely unreal. But this pattern can shift, not through motivation, through understanding how the brain updates identity. Instead of forcing yourself to have everything figured out, the brain needs smaller identity anchors. First, stop waiting for identity clarity. In cognitive science, identity usually forms after action, not before. You don't discover who you are first. You become that person through repeated behavior. So instead of asking, "Who should I become?" ask, "What would that person do today?" A writer doesn't wait to feel like a writer. They write 300 words. The brain then updates identity based on behavior. Action comes first. Identity follows. Second, reduce the illusion of permanent decisions. Your brain fears commitment because it believes choices are irreversible. But most life paths are adjustable. Psychologists call this reversible commitment. Make decisions as experiments. Instead of thinking, "I must choose the perfect career," frame it as, "I'm exploring this path for the next year." The brain tolerates temporary commitments much more easily. Third, close small doors intentionally. Loss aversion keeps too many options open, but identity strengthens when some options close. Try closing one small door at a time. You decide not to pursue 3 different side projects. You focus on one. Your brain stops treating life like a waiting room and starts treating it like a path. Fourth, let the present count. The draft feeling exists because the brain believes the real life is ahead. But neuroscience shows identity forms through current experiences, not imagined futures. So treat today like it matters. Take your work seriously, even if it isn't your final destination. Your brain begins rewriting the story. Not draft, just life. Think of your life like writing a book. Most people believe the final version appears after they plan everything perfectly. But that's not how books are written. The first version becomes the final version through revision. Life works the same way. The present moment isn't a draft. It's the first version of the story. And every action you take edits the next page. Maybe the reason your life feels like a draft isn't because it hasn't started. Maybe it's because you've been waiting for a version of yourself that doesn't arrive first. It arrives through living, through choosing, through closing some doors, through writing imperfect pages. And one day you might look back and realize something simple. There was never a separate, real version of your life waiting ahead. There was only this one, quietly becoming real the moment you stopped treating it like a draft.